The final entry of the wartime era of Walt Disney animation combines Willow of the Wisps from British literature and Sleepy Hollow of American literature together to bring the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which we will be taking a look at right now. Hey friends, welcome to the Disney Pastor. I'm your host Tim, and I talk all things Disney, which includes Walt Disney animation. Question of the day is this: do you prefer Ichabod's story or Mr. Toad's? I have my thoughts, which I'll share later on in the video. I will be talking about the good, the average, and the bad of this movie. Before we dive on in, I just want to say a very special thank you to all of you. I have recently crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. I never thought I'd get here. I mean, I'd hoped to, but I never thought I would. So I want to just say a very massive thank you. I don't know why you would tune in to me talking about Disney for hours, but here you are, and I truly appreciate that you would take time out of your day to spend time with me as I talk Disney. It truly means a lot, so thank you so much. Let's dive into some Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Let's talk about the good.
Ooh, that's good.
When it comes to the good, I want to talk about the Mr. Toad story first, which, by the way, is my favorite of the two to answer today's question. But I really like this story. It's fun, it's weird, it has some solid humor, I think. It's just pretty fun overall. I also think what helps with this too is getting a chance to do the attraction over at Disneyland, which has some moments all the way until the end that actually relate to the movie, but that's besides the point. What is the point though is it's a fun story to be told, and I really enjoy it. It's fun, and that's what you want from a movie, right? So definitely wins something in my book. Part of that is also because the animation is really strong. We enter the last chapter of the wartime era as we look to the silver age / era of Walt Disney animation. It just continues to get better, and it looks really, really great here. Wonderful job, for sure.
Something good, something bad, a bit of both.
When it comes to the average section of this movie, one of the things that is definitely okay at best is the villains. In the first story, it's Mr. Winky and the Weasels, which, I mean, your average thugs and thieves. And they're decent here, but they're not all that great. Definitely the standout here is the Headless Horseman, an iconic part of this story, and also really just an iconic part of Disney history, because he, of course, leads into both Disneyland and Disney World's Halloween parades. And so there is that iconic piece there. Although Ichabod is a part of the one at Disneyland, which I didn't know about till this past year. That being said, they're okay. It definitely would be, I think, more on the bad side if it wasn't for the Headless Horseman and how terrifying he kind of is. The other thing here is the Ichabod story. It's decent. I mean, Bing Crosby does a fantastic job, which, by the way, still is, again, another weird crossover. The story in general is just weird. It's decent, and that's probably the best way to describe it. It's very much let's just go for the meat and potatoes of the Sleepy Hollow story, remove all the fluff, maybe add some few things here and there, some Disney touches, so to speak, and you have that kind of presented on a platter, and it's decent. Either one of these, whether it's the Toad story or it's Ichabod's story, I think would have been maybe better on their own. Together, they're very short and very cut and dry. We're just gonna do this as easy as possible. It's not terrible, but it's not super duper great.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
Last but certainly not least, I mean, this is a split film. When you take a look at the wartime era as a whole, this is really the culmination of it all. I think it does a lot to improve on all the other stuff that's happened, but it still has the same problem, which is it combines two stories, puts them together very easily to then put out rather than doing two separate stories. I think it would have worked better, two separate stories, because, I mean, you're talking about some American folklore and some British literature. Both fine stories on their own. Both have amazing stories, right? But together just feels a little weird. And you're going from a like semi-fun, cheery, humoristic story in Willow of the Wisps with Mr. Toad, and then you kind of go into this Halloween-esque story of Sleepy Hollow with Ichabod. And so it just feels weird. It feels very thrown together, which I've used a lot over the past several weeks in reviewing these movies. So that's just my personal takeaway. They're not bad, but they're not great. Putting them together, I think they could have added just a little bit more to bolster both of them, and it definitely would have stood out, I think, a little bit better. But again, it's not horrible either, so they're still pretty enjoyable. Overall, it's a fun time. I think it does improve on the rest of the wartime era. I've been very critical of this era. If you've been following along with the rating, reviewing every Disney animated movie this year, and I've been very critical of them so far. And so this one, I think, does a much better job. Still not great, still not where I think it could be, but it is pretty decent. It improves on it. It helps to build onto the next era of Walt Disney animation. That being said, I'm going to give it a 6.9 out of 10 with a fun factor of a C+. It's an enjoyable time. I don't hate this movie. I like it. Compared to the rest of the wartime era, this is easily the best one that is offered. And so, because of that, it's fun. But it does have its flaws. I'm sure a lot of us watch around Halloween time because of, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. But that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad down in the comments below. Don't forget, the question of the day is, which one do you prefer? I personally prefer the Mr. Toad side of things. I think it's a little fun. Plus, again, like I mentioned, the attraction definitely helps with that. But that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Once again, thank you for just taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I truly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, hope you give it a big thumbs up. If you do so, helps me know what you like, what you don't like. And if you're new around here, a very special welcome to you. Be sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell to be notified for more videos just like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Goodbye.